Ladies and gentlemen, the two men standing before you or seated before you are Mr. Stacy Hall and Mr. Bud Hatchett. They are seeking your vote in the August 11th runoff for the Senate District 50 seat. And by toss of a coin prior to tonight's proceedings, Mr. Hall will start with our opening, and when it is time for our closing, Mr. Hatchett will begin. Mr. Hall, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate that. And thank you to the Harrison GOP for hosting this event. It's great to be here. My name is Stacy Hall, running for State Senate. I am married to Ivy Copeland Hall. We will celebrate 20 years of marriage this fall. In fact, we had our wedding reception in this building 20 years ago. So every time I come to Rotary, I think of that. We've got two teenage children, 17-year-old Brinson, 15-year-old Lincoln. And we are a host family for two international students from Triple University. I am a local businessman. My wife and I own literally a mom and pop, because we do most of the work, real estate development business. We do some new construction of single family homes and mostly renovation of older homes. We love that work. Both of our backgrounds were in sales and marketing. Before I have a mix between education and business, taught in education at every level, elementary school, middle school, high school. First year taught with special needs. I've been a full-time college business professor and college administrator as well. And certainly have been in business since then. Spent 13 years in corporate America and then 5 as a small business owner. I'm a pro-Trump Republican. I'm very much a conservative Christian and proud of that. I am pro-family, pro-adoption, pro-life, certainly certified pro-life by Georgia Life Alliance, very much pro-Second Amendment. I'm endorsed by Georgia Carey. I know that we have many members of Georgia Carey here tonight, so I'm proud of that endorsement. I'm certified, or have, rather, the NRA's highest rating. And I've served this community. In many different capacities for quite a while, and my time is running out. I think it's quick on the trigger, but hopefully I'll be able to explain a little bit more about that tonight. It's good to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Hatchett.
Thank you very much. My name is Bo Hatchett, and I'll just say it's good to be home. I grew up here, and the first thing I want to do is say thank you. And I think we both owe you guys a huge thanks. The reason we're up here is because you guys went and voted for us, and we get the opportunity to run and represent you in the state senate. As I said, I grew up in Habersham County, and members of this community poured into me and gave me an opportunity to be somebody. And I'm very thankful for each and every person, a lot of people who I know here today that poured into me. And that was one of the reasons why I brought my family back here after law school to raise my family here, because I want my children to have the same opportunities that I had. When we started this race in February, we had no idea the hurdles that we were going to face with the coronavirus and realizing that you may lose a vote if you shake somebody's hand. But there were 6 candidates in the race. Now there's 2. 3 of our former opponents have endorsed me. I've been endorsed by Representative Terry Rogers, our former governor Nathan Deal, and I think they endorsed me because I'm not a politician. I'm a homegrown Republican who's ready and willing to provide quality representation in Atlanta, and I look forward to answering your questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go on, I want to make sure our audience can hear very well. Are y'all? Okay. All right.
Hey. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. If you still can't hear me, let me know. I'll do something.
All right. In campaigns, there is always the rationale for why someone is the best candidate for a job. What do your differences and similarities to your opposition provide that will make you uniquely positioned as the best candidate to represent Senate District 50? Mr. Hatchett.
Well, first off, I grew up in Senate District 50, and I have a lifetime of experience. Like I said, people poured into me and instilled in me a certain set of values that I live by, and a set of values that, quite frankly, I don't think are values that most people in political office have anymore. not only do I have that life experience, but I also have experience working under the Gold Dome. I've worked for a group under the Gold Dome, and I've been in every committee from House Ways and Means to Senate Rules. I know how bills are passed. I know how people try to slide stuff into bills at the last minute to block them. And I think this experience will allow me to be an effective senator from day one. I'm also a constitutionalist. I firmly believe the Constitution is the second greatest document ever written behind the Bible. In law school, I was somewhat of a nerd. You're only supposed to take one semester of constitutional law, and I took 3 different courses on constitutional law. And I was made fun of, but I did it because I love the Constitution. I think it's important, and I think now more than ever, we need people down at the state capitol who can stand up to the liberal agenda, to stand up to people who are trying to infringe on our rights. And with my experience and knowledge of the Constitution, I think I can be the guy that can do that.
Mr. Hall?
Well, I think it comes down to service. I've been serving this community long before I ran for office in many different capacities, whether it's the United Way or SVA or the Habersham Water Work Group, Habersham Archway Partnership, Economic Development Council, many different areas I've been serving. Certainly through my experience with the Habersham County Commission, I think has prepared me. And I just want to mention, in Habersham alone, I'm endorsed by the Clarksville Mayor, the Mount Airy Mayor, the Tallulah Falls Mayor, the Baldwin Mayor, the Cornelia Mayor. So the reason these folks endorse me is because they trust me. The reason why they trust me is because I've been in the trenches. I'm not endorsed by the political establishment. That is true. All those folks that are deep involved in politics and establishment, I am not endorsed by them. The folks that endorse me are the local folks, the folks that are in the trenches doing the work. And I think that's very significant because they have worked alongside me, they trust me, they know we have shared values, they understand that my political beliefs and my Christian beliefs. I believe in the Bible and the Constitution. I don't think we need to make it a lot more complicated than that many times. And I think that's very important. Certainly my experience in education and business is significant as well. I think there's a lot of folks that I talk to them quite often that believe we need more business folks down in the General Assembly, and I concur with them. I agree with them.
Many voters in Habersham County and in Senate District 50 are concerned with the economy and our current state Senate. What are your plans to help boost the economy and lower unemployment?
You said our current state. What is that?
Our current state's debt.
Oh, debt. Okay. Well, certainly I'm not a fan of debt. Ivy and I lived through our marriage trying to eliminate as much debt as possible. But here's what's going on with the economy. And I'm a free market capitalist, and I believe the government's only role with the economy should be to make sure it's a fair level for everybody. Everybody has a fair playing level. Other than that, government needs to get out of the way. Every day I talk to numerous business owners. Today I was in Jackson County, down in Jefferson, talking to a bunch of business owners, and they're doing great right now. One of the issues that they're having currently is the supply chain. They can't get a lot of their products in, and things are flying off their shelves. So my answer to that question is this: government needs to leave businesses alone. Other than keeping them fair and consistent, that's it. But a lot of times in the government's haste to make things better, they overstep, they overreach, and they make policies that really get in the way of businesses being successful or have unintended consequences. I can give you many examples of the unintended consequences that affect our economy. So limited government, not more government, limited government. As far as debt, we just got to make sure that we're spending less money than we're taking in. That sounds simple, but it comes to budgeting priorities.
Mr. Hatchett?
Well, the number one issue with the economy right now is getting people back to work. I think the state of Georgia is uniquely positioned. We're one of 4 states in the nation that has a AAA bond rating, which basically means we have perfect credit. And we also have a rainy day fund that was built up by Governor Deal that I think if we didn't have any revenue, the state could run for a month and a half just on this rainy day fund. The reason why the top 10 states in the nation to do business as they're ranked, I think one of the reasons why is because they have Republican governors that practice fiscally conservative principles. And that's one thing that we have to continue to do to get our economy going again, is be fiscally conservative. We have a president that created the greatest economy that the world has ever seen, and we need to push his agenda on the state level as much as we can. And one of the biggest issues that I heard from business owners when Governor Kemp opened the economy back up when he did was getting people back to work because they were more comfortable sitting on their couch getting an unemployment check. And I think one of the things that we need to do is tighten regulations on those unemployment checks so people aren't incentivized to sit on their couch. They're incentivized to go out and work. And then I think that's something that we got to work on.
Both of you gentlemen in the last answer that you gave mentioned our small businesses. So this next question ties into that. As the effects from COVID-19 continue to impact our small businesses, what do you see as the best way to help them recover and grow? Mr. Hatchett.
Well, I've heard a lot of talk about, federal government's going to give money to the state government, the state money's going to give money to small businesses. I'm of the school of thought that you cannot borrow your way out of debt, which is what I'm afraid may happen in this economy. The biggest thing that we've got to do, and Mr. Hall said this earlier, we got to get the government out of the way. I feel like the founding fathers set up this country and this government to allow people to chase the American dream and practice business as they see fit. Local control, local businesses, small businesses are uniquely positioned to know what's best for their employees, what's best for their customers. And I think the number one thing to do to help small businesses right now is to limit regulation, government regulation. One thing that I'd like to do is see a payroll tax a decrease or eliminate the payroll tax completely for small businesses that are open right now. I think there are several things like that we could do to help small businesses and local businesses get going again.
Mr. Hall.
Well, as many folks know, I am endorsed by the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also endorsed by the National Federation of Independent Business. And the reason they endorse me is not because I'm part of the establishment. In fact, just the opposite. The reason they endorse me is because they know I have an extensive business background, and I'm passionate. I'm very passionate. I don't apologize for being passionate about our businesses, local businesses, in particular small businesses. Most of the local businesses are small businesses, are the backbone of our economy. These are the places we get our haircuts, we buy our birthday cakes, we get our tires fixed, and all of you know those folks that you go to that you trust and you love like family. And the answer is, let's listen to them. Again, it goes back, the government doesn't always know everything. And three things about me. I'll always tell you the truth. I'll try to be direct because I think it's respectful, and I'll never try to be somebody I'm not. Meaning, I don't have the answers to everything. That's why I listen to folks. And I think it's so important that government and our representatives and state senators, they get out, they listen to the small businesses and ask them what they need. And not pretend that we have all the issues. And what they tell me is we need less regulations, we need limited government, and the more local control and decisions that are made, the better. And I'm going to support and listen to our local folks.
As we continue in this vein of questioning, the time frame for the stimulus to unemployment is nearing an end. How do you plan to help balance and offset the needs for employees that will re-enter the workforce with the needs of our small businesses? Mr. Hall.
So I just want to make sure I understand the question. So how are we going to offset the needs of
How will you help balance and offset the needs from employees that will re-enter the workforce with needs of the businesses?
Well, I'm not quite sure I understand the question, other than maybe compensation or benefits. If the employees, if I understand your question correctly, these are employees that are returning to the workforce at the 8 businesses that they were already at. So they're going to be re-engaging in the workforce, which will be good, obviously, for the employers, because they've been, the ones that haven't had their workers have been slowed down in some regard. So, sure, I understand the question. I mean, they're going to be re-engaging the workforce. They're going to be drawing a paycheck. They're going to be re-engaging with benefits. If the question is that they're no longer going to be getting the unemployment insurance instead of getting their paychecks. Isn't that a good thing for the economy? I think we'd all want that. So I'm trying to understand the question better, Rebecca. I'm not giving that person a good answer on that.
As I said, I didn't make these questions up. I can only give those.
Yeah. We need to, as much as we can, and again, I'm very cautious to put all the burden on government to fix things, because usually when they do that, they don't get it right. But as much as we can, we need to help get folks re-employed, certainly, and we can speed that process up, maybe through onboarding, training, cutting out some of those regulations. I mean, there might be some things that we can do in that regard, if I understand the question correctly, but I'm not sure I do.
Mr. Hatcher.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that we could do to help employers get their employees back to work is something I said earlier. Little things that the government can stop doing, and little things like payroll tax. That's something that should be eliminated, in my opinion, with small businesses. And I think that's one thing that we can do to help small businesses pay their employees, get their employees back working. And is something we can do right now for businesses that open and employ people during this as we rebound from the coronavirus pandemic. But that would be the first thing that I did, just to try to help employers in that regard.
Following the reduction of public education funds in the fiscal year 2021 budget, what will you do to ensure both students and educators are supported, equipped, and prepared to safely resume instruction, whether it be in person or virtually this fall?
Well, yeah, first off, I know when we first started this campaign and the coronavirus occurred, they were calling for 14% budget cuts across all agencies, including education. Luckily for us, because we were well situated following Governor Deal's reign and we had a rainy day fund, that was decreased to 10%. One of the things that did do was the budget as passed, and how I understand it now, that eliminated furloughs and layoffs, which is a huge deal for teachers and educators. And unfortunately, they weren't able to get the $2,000 raise that Governor Kemp proposed, but I'd like to see that back on the table in January if the resources are there. So that's how, financially, I think we got to continue to support our education and try to fully fund education again, which we were able to do for several years prior to this year. The next step is I don't think there's any substitute for in-person learning. And it goes back to, I'm a product of public school education. Teachers, coaches poured into me, and I couldn't imagine how my life would be had I been learning behind a computer screen. And that's something that I think is extremely important, and one of the reasons why we have to get our students back into school. But then there's also mental health reasons. Kids need to be around other kids. They need to socialize, and I think it's very important for the development of our youth to go back to school, return to school, and I look forward to bringing the teachers to the table to help make those decisions.
Mr. Hall.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a former educator, 12 years in the classroom, very passionate about education. A lot of friends that are educators, and I listen to them. And I also listen to a lot of parents that are tired of the kids being home. My wife and I, we're ready for them to get back to school. So I hope in earnest that we're able to get kids back to school this year. Certainly I realize that it is a balance. It is absolutely a balance to make sure that their health and well-being and safety is provided for. And I have the utmost confidence in our teachers and administrators that will be the case. But there is also a very real, important need to have that physical interaction, both with the teachers and with the students. I can tell you that somebody as someone who's taught online and as somebody that has taught in a classroom, it is a completely different situation. I'm a better teacher in person than I am online, just because of the interaction, the excitement, and you can really tap into the child's energy and expression and the teacher's creativity and energy. And I think those synergies are incredibly important. So we need to get them back into the classroom. As far as the budgetary costs, I know in Habersham, and this will kind of come full circle. In Habersham in particular, our school system gets the lost revenue. So again, I think if we can focus on helping the economy move forward, then that again, that will be the fastest way to rev up the budget in education.
The mainstream media continues to report on rioting and lawlessness. We've seen it in Atlanta over the last few weeks. And the call to defund our police and law enforcement personnel. What is your stance and why? Mr. Hall.
Well, I think defunding the police is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I can't imagine who came up with these leftist talking points, because it's so surreal that at any level of the imagination, if you're able to breathe and think, nobody can rationally think that's a good idea. So I really think it comes down to leadership having the spine to do the right thing. People have a right to defend themselves. I know that's been under attack too during this rioting, looting issues. And certainly what's really funny is the folks that have been so adamantly opposed to the Second Amendment right now all of a sudden have weapons. And now all of a sudden want to defend their own property and their family. So if anything, maybe through this, we've actually had some converts that understand the significance of having our Second Amendment right and exercising it. But again, going back to defunding the police, that is just silliness, that's just pandering, that is not real logical solutions. And I'm adamantly opposed, and I would never support anything remotely close to that. In fact, I am a staunch, ardent supporter of our law enforcement, and if elected as a state senator, I will be a friend to law enforcement for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Hatchett.
I've had to turn off the mainstream media, to be honest, because their reporting on certain things is ridiculous. As we all know, we've heard fake news. But the rioting, the looting, that just shows you exactly why we need police officers now more than ever. And I think it was a great step that the Georgia legislature did this past month, passing the Peace Officer Protection Act, which puts harsher punishment on people who do attack police because they're in uniform or do attack first responders. The issue of defunding the police, I think if that were to happen, or if the police officers were to walk off, I think about 24 hours, 48 hours later, they'd be getting a raise and they would be begged to come back. And I was taught to respect police when I was growing up. I still have the utmost respect for them. They truly put their life on the lines every single day, and not a lot of people can say that when they go to work. So I would never be for defunding the police.
Gentlemen, how do you weigh the fear-mongering of the mainstream media with precautions centered around getting our state and our cities back to functioning capacity with mask and social distancing suggestions and infringements of people's rights? Mr. Hatchett.
So, with the coronavirus, I'm not going to sit up here and say it's a fake virus. We know it's real. There are people that have died from it that are in, certain categories. And, to me, you can't mandate someone to wear a mask. But I think one of the great things about being in Northeast Georgia and growing up here with our Northeast Georgia values is we take care of each other. If I'm going to go into a senior citizen home and visit someone, I'm going to wear a mask just in case. If we're in certain situations, I think if we can take care of each other and take the precautions that need to be taken, there's no need for mandates. And liberal cities that are mandating masks, I think that's an infringement on our constitutional rights. I don't think it's forward. I think if we practice common sense like we have up here in Northeast Georgia, I think we can take care of each other. And there are no needs for mandates, and I think a mandatory mask rule is a violation of our constitutional rights.
Mr. Hall.
Yes, thank you for the question. I certainly do not support a mandatory mask wearing in the state of Georgia. I know a lot of folks, a lot of other states have done that. A lot of pressure has been put on Governor Kemp to do that. I do believe that there is a common sense approach, and certainly there are things that we should be doing to safeguard our health and the health of others around us. I do believe that as neighbors, as good neighbors, and the Bible tells us to love God and love our neighbors, or love others, which would include our neighbors. We should do responsible, common sense things to help protect us. But I don't believe that everybody should be mandated to wearing a mask. Certainly social distancing, certainly proper hand washings, hygiene, disinfecting certain areas. I support that. But at the same time, also, if I've gone into a lot of establishments, whether it's a doctor's office, whether it's a business, and they ask folks to wear a mask, and I'm happy to oblige. Out of a courtesy and respect to them, I'm happy to oblige. But I don't think the government should be able to mandate that I do so, that everyone should do so. I think that's an overreach of the government and not constitutional. But I do believe that we should do a common sense approach to take care of the health of ourselves, our family, and our neighbors for sure.
If you are elected to represent the citizens of Senate District 50, do you have a committee preference, and why would that be your selection? And what are your hopes to accomplish on that committee assignment?
Higher ed is something I'm very passionate about. I've spent, 21 years in higher education. Add it up for a second. 21 years on a college campus in different capacities. I'm very passionate about higher education. One of the things I'd like to see on that, I think there's a lot of ways to higher ed. Not K through 12, there's totally different. Higher ed, I think there is a lot of ways. So I think I've got a senior now. Well, she'll be a senior in high school this year. And we're looking at colleges and we're doing college visits and all that. And it's outrageous how expensive they are. And the cost of college keeps going up and up and up. And it's just, I could go do a world tour for this 4 years. It'd probably be cheaper than going to college. That is not right. It's not right that the cost of education is keeping these kids from getting it. But I also think, still in higher education, we need to put more emphasis on vocational training. We are having a major crisis right now in various trades that's incredibly important to our communities. Plumbers, electricians, welders, you name it. We need to do a better job of emphasizing the wonderful need of those professionals and do more training in the high schools. I'd like to see more mentorships, more co-ops, more businesses involved in the developing the curriculum. And I have a lot more to that answer, Rebecca, but I'm passionate about it.
Mr. Hatchett.
Well, the shoes that we're trying to fill are those of John Wilkinson, who was a champion for agriculture in the state Senate. One of the committees that I'd like to be on is the Senate Agriculture Committee. I think most people know the engine in Northeast Georgia is agriculture, and I want to make sure that Senate District 50 has a voice at the table when it comes to making decisions for agriculture in the future. Another committee that I'd like to be on as well is the Senate Judiciary Committee. With my knowledge as an attorney, my knowledge of the Constitution, I think it's more important now than ever to have Republican attorneys in the state Senate drafting bills and making sure that the Constitution is followed properly. And those are the two committees that I'd like to see myself on if elected.
Gentlemen, that concludes our questions for this evening's portion of the debate. Went by fast, did it not?
That was fast.
And so now is your opportunity to convince this person and those listening to us online why it is that they should vote for you on August 11th. Because Mr. Hall had the opening statement, Mr. Hatchett, you get to start our closing statements.
Well, first off, I just want to thank the Habersham GOP for hosting this. Thank you to all who are in attendance, and thank you to those who are watching and listening. My name is Bo Hatchett. I'm a Christian, conservative, Republican. I'm a lifelong resident of Northeast Georgia, and I'm running because I care. I'm running because this community poured into me, and I'm raising my family here with the hope that the community will also pour into them. This is a place where it's still politically correct to say Merry Christmas, and socialism hasn't made it here yet. And I'm running to make sure that doesn't happen, and I'll do everything I can. If you trust me and you let me, I'll stand up for you and be your voice in Atlanta, because I'm one of you. And I ask for your vote on August 11th. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. My number is 706-499-6941. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hatchett. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Becky, and thank you for having me again. I'm a proved conservative leader. I've been in the trenches. I'm battle tested. I'm not part of the establishment. I've been on the county commission for 4 years, but I've been serving this community long before I had run for this seat or had any political seat. I've served in a lot of different ways because I do care about it. I'm raising my family here, and we love this place. And it's because of that love, that passion for this community, the passion for the people, that I've engaged in so many different ways, whether it's FCA, United Way, Archway, Waterwork Group, Economic Development Council, what have you. I've coached youth sports for who knows how long. I know Lincoln knows how long, so I've coached him a bunch, but I'm just passionate about it. I listen to people, I talk to people, I want to hear you. I'm not a know-it-all. Even folks that disagree with me at times will say that at least I engage them and listen to them and try to find a good solution together. So again, my name is Stacey Hall. I'm asking to be your state senator, and you can learn more about me online or at 706-244-8481. Please feel free to give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Hatchett, Mr. Hall, we appreciate you being here tonight with us to expound upon why it is that you want to represent the citizens of this community and others in Senate District 50. Ladies and gentlemen, please help give these gentlemen a round of applause. We'll take a brief momentary break.